What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Out of the Park Baseball 26, where we are rebuilding the Pittsburgh Pirates. And today's episode is going to be an exciting one, you guys. It's the start of the 2028 postseason. As you can see, our Pirates have made it for the first time in the simulation. We are one of the wild cards here in the NL, and we will be facing off against the Arizona Diamondbacks in a set of 3 to start today, and then we'll see how it progresses from there. But the plan for today's video is going to be to work through all of the postseason here in 2028, however long that may take us. That we've been building to this point, obviously all season, but really all simulation. It's the first time our Pirates have made it this far in the playoffs. So we're going to take a look at the team we're bringing into the postseason, at least for this first series here, and then kind of take a closer look at our opponents, the Diamondbacks, as well, to sort of see who they're bringing to the table and how we might need to game plan. But we can take a look at just the overall playoff bracket here before we get too deep into things. We're pretty familiar with the NL side. We kind of reviewed that last episode. It's LA and Cincinnati with the first 2 seeds, and then it's kind of us against the Diamondbacks, and then St. Louis against Andrew McCutchen and the Miami Marlins here at the bottom. But looking across to the AL side, it's New York and Seattle, and we've actually simulated up into our first game here, so a couple of games have already taken place, but Texas and Boston and Tampa and Minnesota does sneak in with their new acquisition of Riley Green. So a lot to look forward to. Before we get started, just want to, give my thanks to you for returning to these videos. I really appreciate it. Any support down below, whether that's a like or a comment, I truly appreciate. But let's look at the team we're bringing in. So there's are definitely some surprises here. And you're going to call me crazy for a couple of the things that we're doing. But when we look at all of our playoff eligible players, there are still 2 who are unavailable to us. Termar Johnson is out for 4 days, so he will be unavailable for this first series against Arizona, which is really unfortunate. I mean, he was one of our best hitters this year, 3.5 WAR, great season for him. But not even worth considering it right now because he's unavailable. Edward Lantigua also out 1 to 2 weeks, so he's out for the foreseeable future as well. So when you look at the available position players and pitchers here, you can kind of see in this list the names that we're choosing not to bring. Given this is just a 3-game set, we're not going to bring Burrows or Harrington, as they are, still. Harrington could pitch, feasibly, but we kind of want to save him for further down the line. So both of them are going to not make this series against Arizona. We're going to go with Jared Jones, Flaherty, and Keller as our 1, 2, 3. And then in the bullpen, we are bringing Dan Beebe. And this may be a surprise, but we are bringing Bubba Chandler, you guys. I am ditching Thomas White. And, I think with the 2 starters down, we just need to fill out the bullpen. So this is what we're rolling with for pitching. Obviously, we have Oviedo, who has been pretty bad, so we're going to have him in long relief, taking that Thomas White role. We're also bringing up Jaden Woods to serve as a lefty specialist and kind of middle to long reliever. So Jaden Woods, first off, was really good for us in a 6-game sample. I mean, it's very limited work. He got 16 innings, but he threw 1.1 ERA, sub-1 WHIP, very early on in the season, and I felt bad about not being able to work him in more down the stretch, but we're going to let him roll as lefty specialist because, as we know, Jojo Romero has been awful for us this year with a 7 ERA. I just feel compelled to carry him based on name value and contract. We're paying him $2.75 million, and maybe these ratings play differently in the playoffs. Who knows? So we're going to keep him as well. And then middle relief, Oviedo was so bad down the stretch, you guys. He was so bad. He ends up being a negative 0.9 WAR player, so I'm hesitant to even bring him into the playoffs at all. And when you go to his pitching stats here, he was brutal down the stretch in September and August, negative WAR in both, and his strikeout minus walk dipped to just a near even ratio. So really, really not good. But I kind of feel like he's here for just the mop-up duty, and hopefully he doesn't get any meaningful action. I just would rather have him eat innings than Thomas Harrington, and then Thomas Harrington is like unavailable to pitch next series. I'm sure you guys get the idea. But then, like, bumping him down leaves a spot open in middle relief. And so, like, let's go Bubba Chandler here, who offers a little more strikeout upside. And we've reviewed this before, but as a reliever, this year he has been a positive WAR player with a good strikeout minus walk rate, and he's not getting touched up too much. I'm, like, hopeful he can perform well, and at the major league level for us as a reliever in 8 innings, he was really good. Like even better than he was in the minors. So we're not going to give him leverage. We're going to have him avoid high leverage because he is a little susceptible to home runs. So I don't feel great about our pitching. Just like taking a step back, I don't feel great. I'm like, I just wish Abreu could get more innings. Like he was really, really awesome for us all season long. 29 shutdowns to only 8 meltdowns. So him, Holton, Brash, and De La Paz, I feel good about all 4 of those guys, and that's sort of reflected here. Holton we're using more often, and then we've bumped down Abreu to 8th plus or later because he for some reason was not pitching to close out the year, and you guys remember how angry I got in last video. But it is a new day here. We're going to cool off. We stepped away. We're ready to run these playoffs through. But this is the plan for pitching. Jared Jones is going to get game 1. Lineup-wise, not much has changed since we last checked in. We kicked out Dean Curley because he wasn't available, and also Esther Suero. It may be a surprise to see Esmeralda Valdez still here, but I think he serves a role for us. He can hit lefty, even though he didn't. He got 2 plate appearances and was hitless in MLB. We're betting on him being our postseason hero. Maybe he's our, big Christmas in Pittsburgh. Maybe he can have a moment like Big Christmas did off of Luke Weaver. So it's kind of risky bringing him in. And then we're bringing Jacob Melton in strictly for defense and base running as a pinch running option. He's like one of our best base stealers like in our whole organization. So I felt like he had more value than Suero did, who doesn't really bring much that we don't already have in our starting lineup, and just as like a backup defensive replacement, I kind of like him. So against right-handed pitching, we're just running with our stock lineup that we ran with all season with Benj in the 3 spot, and then Alfonso Mullins Reynolds is still going to play. He did end up turning around 3 straight months of positive WAR production, or positive WRC plus production here. So July, August, September, all positive for him. So while his numbers on the season as a whole may not be the strongest, we're committed to running him out there in the 8 spot. It is what it is. But then against the lefties, we're going to go Valdez in left field, which is like a little bit risky, I guess. But we do have Melton as a defensive sub late. I just kind of think we need that extra righty bat against left-handed pitching. And when you look ahead to who we're projected to face against Arizona here, it's 3 lefty pitchers. So this left-handed lineup is going to be what we're rolling out in most cases. So Gonzalez, Horwitz, Vientos, Cruz, Miller, Plaz, Mullins, Valdez, Peguero. And when I was sorting, split, like looking at statistics versus just lefty pitching on the year as a whole, sorting by WRC plus, the order kind of aligns with who we have. We have, Vientos and Gonzalez as our top 2 guys. And, they're at 1 and 3. And then we have Plaz and Miller. There are 5, 6. And then obviously we got to keep Cruz and Horwitz near the top. So they're 2, 4. And then Mullins isn't half bad. He's actually a positive hitter against lefty for him. So he's there as well. And then we're betting on the wild card Valdez. Peguero is down here a bit at just a 97. But, that's why he bats 9th. So I think that's, the best way we can structure it, the smartest way we can structure it for this upcoming series. If we turn our attention to, who's actually on Arizona, if we go to the playoff coverage here, and, well, we can go to the playoff tree and then just click in here. You can see who they're bringing to the table. So they still have a lot of familiar faces. They still have Ketel Marte. They still have Corbin Carroll. They actually weirdly have Bryce Harper. This is the first time I'm looking at their lineup. How in the world did they acquire Bryce Harper? all it took was Jake McCarthy and a middling Christopher Torin. That's crazy. They even got cash back in return. Dang, Bryce Harper's being disrespected here, but I guess he is only a 50 grade guy at this point. Although that is famous last words. I'm sure he will, destroy us in this series. But, they still have Gabby Moreno, who hit 300. If we go to their lineups, actually, and just sort by WAR. Corbin Carroll's a monster, 5.9 WAR, hit 34 jacks, 105 ribby, 30 steals. He's obviously really good and scary to face with his tremendous speed on the base path as well. Gabby Moreno hit 300 as well, 4.7 WAR. Wilfredo Lara, Rule 5 draft pick. Okay. So it looks like, that's been a success for them. He's been there 2 years now at this point. Not the best hitter, but I guess he brings a lot defensively to explain his positive WAR. And then they also run out Jordan Beck from Colorado, who I guess they received in a trade. It looks like he's come along pretty nice. And they have Bryson Stott as well, another Philly. But, not too much here at the bottom half. Like, Tyler Freeman doesn't wow me. Looks like Lawler has just turned into a 45 grade player for them. That's really rough. Kind of, the fall off is he got the Bubba Chandler dice rolls for them. It's just falling off the face of the earth. And not sure about this Balcazar guy either. It looks like he only got 13 games this season, but he's starting for them. As far as their pitching goes, they're going to go Steele, Jordan Wicks, Christopher Sanchez. So 3 pretty formidable lefties. And, of course, they have Justin Martinez on the back end, and we don't want to see him. They weirdly have Shota in a setup role. That's bizarre. They acquired him in a trade in the offseason, it looks like, for 2 just like nothing prospects. So Chicago is really desperate to move off of Shota, I guess. And they have Corbin Burns in middle relief. Oh, that is criminal. What is his contract? 30 mil? Ugh. Jeez, that's tough to stomach. I guess he did start plenty of games though this year. They just have him there for the time being because of his rest status, I suppose, or maybe they just are making their decisions based on WAR, kind of similar to how we're doing. So okay, I don't blame. They actually have Caleb Ferguson as well, our old friend. How did he do for them? I wonder. Looks like he was traded mid-season, and has been pretty good for both teams, but nowhere near as good as he was for us. It looks like. And, I mean, he kind of looks like the same guy, though. All around effective against both sides. So, we'll see if we go against him. They have Kenley Jansen here at age 41. The 0.6 WAR. Cool. I mean, sub-3 ERA. Not bad. But, okay, let's get it underway here. I know some creators like to actually play the playoff games on camera and other OOTP series, but I am not one of those guys. I feel like playing the actual game accelerates weird anomalies that happen on the field. If my pitcher has another balk when I'm playing, I'm gonna lose it. So I don't want to put myself through that. We're just gonna simulate here and dive into the box scores each time. So it's a little less drawn out, so it's possible this is over really quickly for us here if we just get bounced immediately, and then we'll have to take a break and recompose. But I just prefer it this way, so sorry if you like to see the actual games get played. But we're gonna start it off here. Jared Jones against Justin Steele. 2 really solid pitchers. Justin Steele, 3.5 WAR on the year, 9-11 record. Pretty solid numbers across the board. Positive ERA and FIP, not really giving up the homers or the strikeouts. Batters hitting just .225 against him. He will face off against Jared Jones, who led the NL in innings. Wow, big time Jared. Good ERA, but not as strong as Steele. Good whip, but also I don't think as strong as Steele. And then he's striking out more per 9. Batters hitting .231 against him. So I think pretty even matchup here across both. We'll see how it goes for us. Game 1 of the NL wild card. Here we go. Pittsburgh defeats Arizona 7-2. Big game. Vientos is crushing lefties. On the season, our team had really strong performance against lefty pitching, so I'm hoping that they maintain their lefty starters here. We jump on them for 2 in the second, 3 in the 5th, and 2 more in the 7th before giving up 2 in the 9th. We'll have to check and see who did that. It looks like Cedric Mullins pushed one across, Vientos 3-run homer, and then Horwitz with a 2-run double against Kenley Jansen late. But the whole top of our order hitting, Gonzalez, Horwitz, Vientos. Cruz strikes out 3 times. That's pretty tough, but Adam Miller gets a hit. He also scores. Looks like Plaz drew a walk. He's really come on. I was pleased with his season in just kind of 11 games for us, but 114 WRC plus. I think he's cemented himself in our future for the near term. Mullins looks like he got that single there, and then look at Valdez pushing across the RBI in his first major league hit. His first major league hit comes in the postseason, so I guess it doesn't actually count toward his career stats. But we'll always remember deep in our hearts that Esmeralda Valdez was a postseason wild card hero for us there. Jared Jones, tremendous game score, 77 game score, 7 1/3. 6K, 1 walk, only 3 hits allowed, 101 pitches. That's awesome. Bubba comes in for just like mop-up duty. I don't care that he got blown up. It's whatever. JoJo gives up a hit in his third of an inning, which is like classic JoJo. Never a clean outing from him. But we take 1-0. So that actually went a lot better than I was expecting. If we go back to the playoff tree here, we'll finish out the day and see how this other series goes down here. We're rooting for Andrew McCutchen and the Marlins, but it looks like they end up falling to St. Louis, unfortunately. So if we check and see, 3-0 win by the Cards. But okay, here we go. Game 2. Jack Flaherty versus Jordan Wicks, another lefty here. Let's take a look at Jordan Wicks' stat line on the season. A 3.2 WAR player, so pretty strong, positive ERA, good FIP. Batters hitting .236 against him. Like all very solid numbers, striking out a decent amount per 9. He had a great year, 10-9 record. Throws just low to mid 90s, so let's see how Flaherty compares here. Flaherty only a 2.4 WAR, but I think, he also got 30 games of action. I was gonna make the excuse that he played fewer games, but it's not really the case. He just, just was more close to league average here. So ERA plus, FIP, but I think we like him. I feel confident in him getting this game. 223 batting average against. So we're going to let him take this one. His last couple of games have all been positive. He's on a 4-game streak of positive game scores here. So we're gonna trust him to lock this down for us. Jack Flaherty versus Jordan Wicks. Let's see if we can advance. Oh, they beat us 9-5. So De La Paz looks like they took it late. De La Paz gets the loss. We got homers from Miller and Plaz, but Marte, Freeman, Lara all go yard for Arizona. So let's see how this one. They come back for 5 in the 8th inning. Oh my gosh. Oh, they got 2 in the 7th, 5 in the 8th. They jumped on us early, but then we equalized in the 2nd. We actually had the lead in the 6th and the 7th. So that's pretty brutal. We had a 3-run lead that slipped away late. 17 hits for them. Goodness, that is crazy. This is all in the bullpen, I assume. Jack Flaherty with a good game, like just solid 51 game score. Didn't walk anyone, but gave up 8 hits, struck out 6. Brash could not get an out, 3 hits, gave up an earned run. JoJo comes in, blows it. God, I regret bringing him on the team. And then De La Paz also gives up 2 home runs. We got to get him out of there, you guys. What are we doing, allowing him to give up 2 homers? Dan Beebe comes in to mop up. That's a tough one to stomach. We had the lead going into the bottom of the 7th, and they come back. Our bullpen kind of falls apart there. Coming off a huge high of the game 1 victory, now I'm back down into the dumps here. But let's go ahead and finish today and see how everything else pans out. So we're the only wild card series to still have a game left. Tampa and Boston will advance in the AL. St. Louis will sweep Miami. So it'll be, up to us here. Mitch Keller versus Christopher Sanchez. We have our captain on the bump, Mitch Keller, 2.0 WAR on the year. He was, tremendous all season, 15-9 record, almost 200 innings, positive ERA, but his FIP is also high, so that's a little suspicious. 234 average for, batters against. Christopher Sanchez here, 3.0 WAR. So they have us, kind of beat in WAR across the board. He was 10-9, only threw 177 though. Positive ERA, positive FIP. Batters hitting 239 against him. So I think this is a pretty even matchup if I had to say. I actually want to take a closer look at our box score here and see who was hitting for us and producing all of these runs. So Gonzalez again with a 2-hit day. Vientos hitless. Carson Bench did pinch hit though once they started bringing in right-handed pitching. So that's good. Looks like Miller and Plaz and Valdez struck out 3 times. So, but I don't know that that's like the reason we lost. I think the reason we lost is our pitching. So I was just wanting to confirm everyone was, still hitting pretty well here. O'Neal Cruz did not strike out at all, so an improvement over the first game, and he got a hit and he scored a run. So, all right, it all comes down to this: Mitch Keller versus Christopher Sanchez. Will our Pirates make it on to the next round of the playoffs, or will we go home disappointed? Let's see. And the Arizona Diamondbacks defeat us 8-3. What a brutal game here. It looks like Corbin Burns got the victory. I don't think they made a pitching change. It likely came in the bullpen, but they get 2 homers. Let's check and see how this one went. 12 hits for them. Gosh, our bullpen was just brutal, I assume. It looks like they got 6 on us through the first 4, so that's a pretty tough deficit to overcome. At one point, it was 8-1. Yeah, we were just down bad. I'm assuming Mitch Keller just did not get off to a good start here, but it kind of stinks that we had to face 3 straight lefty starters. What kind of crazy crap is that? Where we can't even get our best lineup out there. Cruz hitless again. It's just not the best situation for him. He's obviously better against right-handed pitching. Even though his ratings are kind of even across both sides if we were to actually dive in and look. But, obviously he's going to hit righties better as a left-handed batter. Looks like he had an error as well. But, yeah, Keller can't make it out of the 4th. And then BB comes in as well. He's also getting destroyed. We're going to have to figure out what to do there. Holton comes in. This is a really disappointing end in the series. Ketel Marte had 2 triples. How ridiculous is that? Is that a joke? Is that a joke? He had 2 triples. Wow. How many RBI? 3 RBI. Yeah, we kind of just got crushed, you guys. I don't know what else there is to say, but this is a bittersweet end to the series, or to the season rather. Didn't really show up in the decisive game after jumping out to a 1-0 lead on the series. We kind of forgot how to hit, and really blowing this game late was kind of just awful for us. I come back and think of this where we give up 7 runs between the 7th and 8th inning, and there's really no excuse for that at all. Like, we couldn't get a single out here. No one could get an out in the set. Like, Flaherty got the first one, and then Brash comes in, just gets destroyed. JoJo, same thing. Where's our management at? Can we put in Abreu? Can we put in Dan Beebe? Oh, it's just really sad. But that's what you get. I sort of like leaving the manager in charge of the game. It makes it more realistic. If we're micromanaging every aspect, playing every game, I think it's easier to win that way, and I feel more satisfied when we win this way. But that's kind of a wrap on our season, y'all. We're going to finish, obviously, 91 and 71, which is a huge improvement year over year. on our, you know, record. Big jump in win percentage and just like volume of wins, ratio of wins, like position in the division, like all of that. We still have yet to take home a division title, but all in all, I think the owner will be happy. Our fan interest managed to jump another 10 points, a further 10 points to 76. So I don't know where that came from. Just down the stretch, we've gone from 56. Well, I mean, taking a step even further, but at the very start of opening day, we were at 50. And we've since gained 26 points of fan interest over the course of the season. So while we had a disappointing end, I think there's a lot of positivity to take from this year, and we did it all with the 29th budget and the 25th highest payroll in the MLB. We did manage to finish with a positive $7 million, budget. I think a lot of that kind of came as the season was, as we were kind of snowballing down the stretch there. So we ought to be safe with our owner. We achieved our primary goal of playing 500 ball. We actually excelled at it. We got a dark blue result, which is outstanding. And then it looks like we also improved our batting average, which managed to climb up to 8th at the end of the year. But when I'm reflecting on the season as a whole, I can't help but wonder if we had certain guys on our roster like Termar and Edward Lantigua, if maybe the playoffs would have turned out differently for us. But ultimately, I think we can kind of blame it on our bullpen here, which is frustrating because our pitching was so strong all season. But I mean, Keller and Flaherty didn't really help us out much either. But I'm going to pop off camera here. We're going to continue through the playoffs off cam. I'm going to just simulate it all since this has been sort of a short start to the video, or relatively short. We're going to get some closure here on the playoffs, see who emerges as World Series champion, and then we will dive into the stats of the team as a whole and sort of evaluate player by player, each player's future with us, looking ahead toward next season, 2029. So let me run through all of that. Sorry we couldn't make it out further than we did, guys. I'm just as disappointed as you are, but let's see who manages to take home the World Series this year. All right, y'all, we have made some substantial advances in game time. It is now November 1st, 2028, and as you can see, the Seattle Mariners will take home the World Series championship. They beat out the Dodgers in the Fall Classic here, 4-1, in maybe a surprise defeat. Arizona went on to lose to LA here, and then LA wiped out Cincinnati pretty handily. No real close series for Seattle, like all the way through. They swept Tampa and then won in 6 against the Yankees and then took it in 5 against LA. So let's take a look at their team. They still have, their core pitching staff together. They have Kirby, Gilbert, Wu, and Miller all still throwing for them, and their bullpen looks a little weird. Sawyer Gibson Long as the closer is definitely a little bizarre. It looks like Pete Fairbanks got that role for the majority of the season, and they have Yennier Cano and Dre Jameson as well. So quite the collection of characters there. And as far as their lineup goes, it looks like a lot of their prospects, they have Laz Montez up at right field, and he's a 50-grade player. It looks like, sort of similar to Carson Benj, if I'm being honest. But they have him up. They have Julio, Dairon Blanco. Cal Raleigh is still here. Let's check in on his year. A bit of a down season for him, but still 5.7 WAR, 31 homers. For their catching captain, they have Brandon Lau. Glaber playing first base. That's kind of weird. And I'm not sure who this person is. Rain Doncon. Looks like an IFA signing of the Dodgers in 2021. Exchanged in the Manuel Margot trade. Interesting. So it looks like he got some really good dice rolls to factor here, and they have Orelvis Martinez as well, and a guy named Gregory Barrios. So kind of an odd team. Obviously their 4 starting pitchers are amazing. So no surprise they were able to beat out the Dodgers, who are still running out actually no. Shohei is on the IL with, he went down with nerve damage in his elbow. Uh, Poor Shohei. It looks like he started 16 games and got into bat in 75. So looks like his season was cut short, and they weirdly have Jason Adam. That's a throwback from our early days in the sim. But they have guys like Kyle Tucker in the 7 hole and Will Smith in the 8 hole. That's very bizarre. Um, I'm not sure if this is the lineup construction they went. Who is this guy? Emil Morales, 70 grade potential. I guess he's a real guy. Just a IFA signing in real life that I'm unaware of, but um, they have Jordan too. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Just kind of a weird team. But they ended up going down to Seattle 4-1. Now I kind of want to pivot our attention to. I think actually this is the first year the AL has won since 2025 when the Yankees ended up beating the Dodgers in the World Series. We've gone back-to-back NL World Series winners. But I think we're good to pivot back our attention to the Pirates here. A bunch of time has advanced, and I was kind of taking a closer look at everything as it relates to our team. And something that I went unnoticed when I was looking at this ownership screen is that our fan loyalty actually increased back from pathetic to poor. So we actually got a bump in fan loyalty, which was kind of unmentioned in our inbox or anything like that. But if you have a good memory, you'll remember that originally when we started this simulation with the real life start date in 2025, our fan loyalty was poor. And then at the end of, I believe, the first season or the second season, I'm not quite certain when it happened, but at some point it regressed to pathetic, which was more down here. And then, I guess over the course of our strong play this year, it's bumped back up to poor. So I think we can, think of that when we're trying to explain the, rapid increase in fan interest we saw over the back half. I think that played factor as well. So I wanted to, note that I did end up. Some of you maybe caught that just immediately, but it took me a minute to get there. And then, we've started scouting our IFA guys. We had the pool reveal here, earlier in October. I'm not going to show anything there until we're at the signing deadline, and we have not, I guess, advanced to the start of the off season. So. We're going to do that to wrap up the video, but I have some business I want to get to first. But when we do advance to the off-season start, presumably we will find out if we've been fired or not. I don't think it's likely that we will be fired. So hopefully we'll get a new contract and we'll get decisions from a lot of our players. Well, not a lot of our players, but I think Jack Flaherty has an option. There's a lot for us to sort of think about. But I want to sort of pivot the conversation forward now to looking ahead to the offseason and maybe what we're going to do. So we're going to review some stats of players in a sec, but I want to kind of look at it from a financial POV. And, I think it's likely we get a small increase in budget, although it's not a guarantee. Our owner is a penny pincher. So if we just kind of plan to operate at the same level that we are currently at 190, we can certainly reel in our dev budget, and I wouldn't want to cut down on scouting too much more, but I think we could reel in the dev budget if we need to spend a little bit more. Because look at this, at the salary page, I'm looking at all of these guys and I'm noticing a lot of the salaries are going to take a big jump this year. Obviously we don't have any intention of bringing back Mitch Keller, so that alone is going to free up 20 mil. But then we look at Jack Flaherty has a 10 mil player option. I'll be curious to see if he accepts that. O'Neal Cruz's salary jumps by $9 million up to 17.5. So that's going to be, half of the savings that we get from cutting loose Mitch Keller. That's going to go to O'Neal Cruz. We have guys like Brian Abreu, who had a tremendous season for us, that we're considering re-signing. He's going to likely want a raise. Guys, advancing into arbitration like Mark Vientos, he's going to want a raise. And then Jared Jones as well is jumping by about, 3.5 mil, 3.7, up to 7.5 million next year. So between all the arbitration jumps, like guys like Horwitz and Gonzalez as well, like similar story. They're going to be they're going to be looking for like double the salary they're currently on, and then Matt Brash as well. If we want to re-sign him, he's likely going to want to raise. So it's kind of a consistent theme across the board. Like a lot of our players jumping from ARB1 to ARB2, looking to get paid more, and then the O'Neal Cruz is like he's really getting into the meat of his contract extension we signed him to. So there's not really much, even though we're cutting Mitch Keller loose, there's not really much savings, I think, that we can project. Like, there are certain guys that we're going to look to move on from. I think Endy Rodriguez may have some trade value. He's still a capable player on paper, but I think his time with us is likely done after his negative WAR season for us. So I don't know that it's going to be a huge market for him, but maybe we can, get like a 40 or 45 grade prospect on a minor league deal or something like that. We have Jojo Romero, who we can decide if we want to bring him back. And, there's a lot more guys here that we can like cut loose who we don't want to carry on the 40-man anymore. But that's sort of like, I don't know, all things to think about moving forward. I don't know how much financial flexibility we're going to have. We'll know shortly once we advance to the offseason. But I think that's important context to keep in mind as we start to review the stats of all of our players here. So let's get into that. Let's take a look at how everyone did on an individual basis and kind of project them moving forward. And we'll go ahead and start with our lineup here. I think this is probably the most simple thing. I think we have a lot more questions on our pitching than we do with our lineup. But we'll just kind of go around the horn here, player by player, and kind of look at their season as a whole. Well, first of all, let's just take a step back and just like who led us in WAR on the year. Our top players were Omar Alfonso, Nick Gonzalez, and Cedric Mullins, all at a 3+ WAR. O'Neal Cruz came in at 2.9. And then Carson Benj with his hot play down the stretch got to a 2.2. So, I think all of these guys are like, obviously really good for us. We'll have to figure out what we're doing with each of them individually. But if we zoom in on Omar Alfonso, you can see he had 21 doubles, 21 homer for 55 RBI. Kind of had a great season, low key, like really solid. I don't know that he is rookie eligible. No, he's not eligible for the PPI. I think maybe we brought him up a little too early last season when he kind of got a taste with us. Maybe he was on the on the secondary roster too long, something like that. But yeah, I like him long term. I think he's gonna eventually be a very well-paid catcher, but for the time being, I'm content to just ride out his years on the minimum. And once he starts to get into arbitration, we can consider maybe signing him long-term or something like that. But for the time being, happy to keep this, happy to get 3.3 WAR out of a major league minimum contract, 815 OPS. So I'm wondering, I still kind of think we shield him against left-handed pitching next year. But I think this next guy, Axel Plaz, can handle that role for us. Just 11 games of action for us, all against left-handed pitching. I think if we go to his batting splits and look at it just at the MLB level, he had 21 plate appearances against lefty, 17 against righty, and he held his own both ways. I mean, definitely better against lefty, but right on average against righty. So I think as far as backup catching goes, I don't really want to be paying Endy Rodriguez ARB2 level money. I would rather have a cheap backup here, and I think Axel Plaz is ready to step into the role at 23. So he brings good defense, not the arm that Alfonso has, but he is, a pretty good framer. If we look at, they have the same framing rating and the same catching rating here if we just toggle between them. Obviously, Alfonso has a 65. He has plus 10 on the arm value. But as far as Plaz's ability to hit lefties, you look at these ratings and they're, quite strong. So feel good about bringing him in next year. If we go down to first base, Spencer Horwitz is entering ARB2 now at almost 31 years old. So he's going to be looking for a big jump in salary. And honestly, this is one where I could go either way. If you feel strongly about Spencer Horwitz staying with us, let us know. He's coming off of his worst season, excuse me, with the team. Only a 0.7 WAR and was actually like a subpar hitter with the 99 WRC plus. Obviously, on paper, he's still like tremendous against both sides too. Like he can hit lefty lefty as well. Really good against righties. But as I mentioned, if you look at his like year over year stats, when we started the series, he was a 1.3 WAR player. Now then he like had his best season, 3.6 WAR, 2.2 WAR last season, and then this year was a real dud. So I'm hoping he can kind of rediscover this form. There's really not much separation in his stat line year over year. So I'm not sure where the decrease in WAR is coming from other than just like volume. Like he hit more homers, had more RBI, had fewer steals, increased his batting average, OBP, and slugging and OPS, and was still somehow worse. So that's a little bit weird. I do think we are going to likely bring him back just because I don't know. I think I'd rather be safe than sorry, and I think we can afford it. He's not all that expensive yet. Nick Gonzalez was like probably our best, most consistent hitter all season. 44 doubles, 20 homer, almost 70 RBI. He didn't really steal many bases given his ratings, so we may look to increase that frequency in his strategy. But he's very popular. He's a captain. I think obviously we're going to bring him back. He's actually extremely popular. Again, I don't think we're going to sign him long term just because he's knocking on the door of being 30. So I'm content to just ride out his ARB, and then we'll bring him back next season. And, potentially we could look into trading him or something. I don't know that he finishes his career with us, but for the near term time being, like obviously we love having him. He finally kind of rediscovered his good play. If we look at his like annual just breakdown, when we took over in 2025, he had that really hot back half of the season, 3.4 WAR. The last two seasons, he's sort of just been like underwhelming, very much underwhelming. And then this year, he finally was back in his bag. Rediscovered the slugging and put up a career high in homers too. This is like the most homers he's ever hit, 20, which is pretty surprising given his 45 grade power. So quite the season for him. He's definitely going to be back. Our third baseman here, Aiden Miller, Rule 5 draft pick, maybe a surprise for us, ended up being a 0.8 WAR player, so positive player, 40 ribby, only 3 homers, but 20 doubles, so really tapping into that gap power. As a lefty hitter, we think he's awesome. Obviously, against right-handed pitching, there's still quite a bit to work on. But now that we've got him like on the team, he has 3 option years left, so he's not necessarily penciled into, the major league roster, like for sure. But when I take a step back, I kind of like him. I almost even want to give him dev lab work to tap into this power. And maybe he really turns into something because he's a positive defender at third base. And like, I wouldn't mind, working with him. So if you feel strongly about Aiden Miller, vouch for him in the comments below. But I'm kind of like almost favoring him over Dean Curley as sort of like our, maybe someone who we want to put at third base long term. But happy to have him on the team. He actually OPS'd higher than Mark Vientos, but Mark Vientos has him beat in like volume across like a number of categories. Like home run, it's no question. Vientos hit 24 compared to just 3 for Miller, 72 ribby. Just struck out way more too, didn't walk as much. But Vientos ended up being a positive WAR player for us in the end, but just a 0.5 WAR. And I'm really sort of like, I don't know what to do. I think he definitely has value as like a lefty DH, like backup first baseman. I don't know that I want him to be our everyday starting third baseman against right-handed pitching, just because he's only a 70 WRC plus player there in a negative WAR. Obviously, like very strong against lefties. So I think we we probably bring him back just because he's relatively cost effective, but I don't know that I want him to start every game at third base against right-handed pitching, if you kind of get what I mean. Maybe he just takes, the lefty DH role, back up first base, works in at DH sometimes, something like that. Liover Peguero had quite the down year, only a 0.9 WAR, but this was like him platooning full-time on the year with Wyatt Sanford at shortstop. So I think we're kind of done with Liover, you guys. 3.4 mil for a backup middle infielder. He does bring really solid defense. His fielding stats are, I think, quite positive. I'm not sure why he played in the outfield here, but he's a positive defender at short, which is hard to find. But at the same time, I don't really know that he's bringing much for us offensively, and I think we can bring up some of our guys in the minors to sort of fill that backup shortstop role. Guys like Yordani or Dean Curley even can play shortstop a bit. So I don't know that Peguero will come back for us. He was awesome for us early in the series, but I think we can find better in our system, and I don't know that I want to pay him. Wyatt Sanford, on the other hand, is continuing to ascend. I almost want to hit him leadoff next season just because I think he's more of a threat on the base paths than Spencer Horwitz is. So we could maybe look forward to that. He didn't really slug very much here, only OPSing 672, but ultimately a positive WAR player because of his defense at short, which he now has 70 infield range, which is awesome. I think maybe we look to get him in the dev lab for an eye program as well. We can hopefully tap into that, and then if that comes along, then he's really, getting that leadoff profile where he's got good plate discipline, good at getting the ball in play. But I am really intrigued by him. He would be someone I would consider signing long term. I don't know that we're going to do that just yet. He's had, a fair amount of injuries, so if he were to turn fragile, I don't know that I love the idea of bringing him on, but I think next year, looking forward, the idea will be to play him against both sides to make him a more well-rounded player just overall. Obviously, we have quite the supply of outfielders here. Brian Reynolds, you guys, I kind of want to just cut him loose. It sucks because he's almost at that 10-year service time card where he can get that golden pass to all the ballparks or whatever. But he's a full negative WAR player. He's been a negative WAR player every season of this sim, I believe. The first year we took over, he was a 0.7 WAR player. And I just can't run this out there, you guys. We have to move on. We have to DFA him and cut him. There's no trade market. It's just, I hate to have the dead money on the books, but I think we're so young overall that we can, make it work. I know it may be disappointing until it's not realistic. You have to keep him and follow pay the price for the contracts you sign. And while I generally agree, I didn't sign Brian Reynolds to this deal. I don't want to have him on the team anymore. I'm done. We're gonna waive and DFA him. I've already decided. So that's going to open up our, everyday DH spot here where I think we can kind of rotate guys through there, guys like Horwitz, guys like Carson Benj, and then some of our outfielders as well, kind of have just a steady rotation there. I just think it's going to make us better, obviously, not having a 600 OPS guy clogging the DH spot, who only had 26 RBI despite playing in 97 games. So this will be the end for Brian Reynolds. Cedric Mullins, on the other hand, is coming off of his strongest season with us. If we go to his career stats, he's been here 3 years at this point, 2.4 WAR, 2.3 WAR, and now 3.0 WAR this season. So he's entering a contract year, similar story, about to reach 10 years of service. He's 34 at this point. So, you love his production at his age. Overall, really strong season, 24 doubles, 22 steals, 17 homer for 71 RBI. 741 OPS, great defense in center field. If we go to his fielding stats, 7 zone rating is really strong. So he's on, the final year of his deal. I think I'm going to try to trade him, you guys. I think we're going to try to get out from under this right before, the regression hits. If we can't trade him, it's not the end of the world, but I think that would be my plan. And then we would likely move O'Neal Cruz back to center field or something like that, where, we still like his range there and his arm and his speed. I think he could handle it if we asked him to do that. So maybe the end of Cedric Mullins. I'm still a little undecided though. I'm just going to kind of see what the market has, but I think moving on from him as well would like clear up a lot of money to allow us to, maybe bring in like a big time reliever on like a bigger contract down the line. Carson Benj, we love everything here. I think we may even commit resources to him in the dev lab to try to tap into this contact, because in 117 games, he gave us 21 doubles, 24 homers, and OPS 872 for a 133 WRC plus. So, like, we've got to get him on the field full time, no question about it. And I think we're going to play him both sides too, just to, make him more well-rounded again. I think guys, like, if you don't expose them to both sides, they'll just refuse. Like, their splits will become even more drastic. So, we're going to try to get him playing time. I don't think he's eligible to get PPI. No, he's not, for whatever reason. So we won't get any draft compensation for him, but he had a tremendous back half for us. Actually finished as our highest WRC plus player on the whole season, beating out even Nick Gonzalez. O'Neal Cruz, though, is sort of like, I don't know, his numbers really fell down the stretch. But, I think we're just happy he was able to put together a full season for us. Playing in like a substantial amount of games this year compared to last. He's still a positive defender in right field. He's still very popular, going to be our cleanup hitter, and his ratings against both sides are, the same. So I don't think he's a risk of platooning, even though sort of the splits this year were kind of not so good against lefty versus righty, but it's close enough to even. Either way, he's our guy. We're building around him for the long term. Jacob Melton, he's here just on the playoff roster. I guess he still has an option year left. I think it's likely we keep him on as depth, but I think his dream of becoming a everyday player at the MLB level are likely gone. And then Esmeralda Valdez as well. Like, I could honestly see us carrying him as like a DH, similar like lefty, rotates in at the corners every so often. We'll just kind of have to see how the roster shakes out, but he's still got 2 option years remaining. It's likely we bring him back. We'll always remember his 1 RBI in the wild card series we just wrapped up, so he will forever remain a hero for us. 2 more guys just on the injured list will or they're actually off the injured list at this point, but let's respect Tremar's strong season. 3.5 WAR would have made him like one of our strongest players on the season as well. 24 doubles, 17 homers as our 3-hole hitter. Great OBP. He's walking a ton, not striking out a ton either. OPSing 842, so I like him in left field. I think it's also even possible he moves back to third base as well. Like, I'm not going to rule that out just yet. It depends how the rest of the team starts to look, and if we want to run Aiden Miller there full time, or however we decide to do it. I think it could be possible Termar goes back there, but this was his first year going full time against both sides, so let's see how his splits were. He was actually a positive player against left-handed pitching, so I think that's an encouraging sign. He's still just 24, has, I was going to say, is still on the major league minimum, but he's about to enter arbitration, so we're going to have to start paying him quite a bit. I don't know that we would look to extend him long-term either, just because I'm so weary of his lower body injury history, where it's especially last year and the year before, it was like a knee or hamstring thing every few weeks. So I don't want to be tied to him long term, but obviously he's one of our strongest players. This guy, Edward Lantigua, I think it's very likely he breaks camp with us next season. And when I'm sculpting out our outfield, possibly I'm thinking okay, if we move on from Cedric Mullins, maybe Lantigua can take center field, And then we throw Carson Benj in left, O'Neill Cruz in right, Termar slides down to third base. I think that may be the most optimal way of setting things up, but he's just about to be 22 years old. This is the player we got in exchange for David Bednar back in 2025 at the trade deadline. So he's really come along, and he's the number 70. He's a top 100 prospect in all of baseball. Sorry guys, I keep clicking around here, but had like a great, not a great, but a positive first 20 games here before going down with a hamstring strain that cut his season short early. But a 110 WRC plus, and I think he could stick at center field if we move him there, and be a strong player for us. So all of those guys, I think, the things we're thinking about is like, what do we do with Vientos? What do we do with Miller? Dean Curley here. It's like just unfortunate. I think he's similar to Gavin Turley, the outfielder. Like, I think they've just capped out at AAA. Like, they're 4A players, which is just really unfortunate because they were some of our first draft picks in the series. But, like, he's so good at AAA, it's just not going to translate to the majors. So I don't want to, like, pencil him into any sort of role. I think it's just, if he gets favorable dice rolls like on his own and kind of emerges as a player that we can work in, that's great. But I don't want to plan around having him factor in for us. So other guys, like we have Suero as well, who's currently like on loan. If we go here to on loan, if we're touching on major league guys, he got 14 games of action, was kind of subpar at 683 OPS, but I could see him being like our primary backup outfielder next season, where he starts to rotate in, because as a switch hitter, I kind of like the balance that he provides, and he's decent on the base paths. So I think it would make sense to bring him up as a major league minimum kind of guy next season. So let me take a break here, and then we'll dive into the pitching. That was a lot of talking. I need to rehydrate. Now, if we turn our attention to pitching here, I just have the table sorted by WAR. Obviously, Jared Jones, Jack Flaherty, Mitch Keller were all really good for us, but so was Mike Burrows as well. And then you can kind of see our relievers here and just kind of how everyone fell at the end of the year. Thomas Harrington, not so good. We'll get into him in a bit. Thomas White and Johan Oviedo were our two negative WAR pitchers on the season, so not quite sure what to do with them. Let's go just around the horn here. Jared Jones, obviously, he's our ace now. We just signed him last season to a big deal, and he gets a bonus for reaching 200 innings pitched. So he just did that for us this year, so congrats to him on his minor bonus of $150K. But obviously, we like him. He was a 3.3 WAR player for us. Won our only playoff game, so we will remember that moving forward. That will go down as part of his legend with us. But I think, given he's signed long term, I wouldn't be against giving him a program to maybe try to improve his movement further. I think there's, OSA sees some more upside there. I think we could possibly get more success throwing him in there. So we'll see how many slots we have, but I think we can look to build around him more long term, considering he's signed for us, right? Jack Flaherty, I think, was actually surprisingly good. We were kind of bummed out that we had to sign him last season after missing on guys like Nick Lodolo and Shane McClanahan in free agency. But he turned out to be like a very decent guy, despite his ratings on paper being like subpar. So, I'll be curious to see if he wants to accept this 10 mil player option or go out to market and try to get a deal that's more, long term, because it's honestly his strongest season that he's had in several years. An improvement over last year, but if you total up these numbers here, he was a 3 WAR player in 2026. So, an improvement over last season. We'll see if he wants to go test the market or not. Mitch Keller, I think we're likely done with, just because I feel like this season was such an anomaly for him. Even though he is a captain, we already have a captain in Nick Gonzalez that we're intending to bring back. And at 32 years old, if we're looking to sign him, his current demands are just like, he wants like $80 million over the next 4 seasons. So I don't think we're going to sign him. It just is what it is. He is eligible to be QO'd, so we may consider that. It's obviously a little risky. He could just accept the QO, and then we would be like a little bit screwed. But I'm going to take a look at the pitching market like broadly and see if that makes sense or not. If he is like near the top of the market, it's likely we QO him. If there are a bunch of strong starting pitchers available, maybe we don't. Either way, Mike Burrows, I think, is our next guy here. He is very popular and just kind of entering arbitration. And I think it's likely we bring him back as like a 4 or a 5 starter. He's only expecting 2.6 mil. So after his strong season for us, 1.8 WAR, I'm fine bringing him back. Like, I don't see any issue with this at all to, fill a back end role. I don't think we want to bank on him being like a frontline starter, like a front 3 starter. But we'll kind of see how Flaherty wants to handle things. If I was projecting our rotation forward, I think it would be Jones, Dan Beebe, Flaherty, Burrows, and then the 5th spot is kind of up for grabs. So kind of just depends on what Flaherty wants to do. Dan Beebe obviously was not good in his first 15 games out of the bullpen for us. We maybe pushed him a little too aggressively into leverage, but I was sort of placing I wanted him to be handled similar to how Jackson Jobe was handled for the Tigers in real life, where they brought him up at the very end of the season, gave him bullpen work, and then suddenly he's pitching in the 8th inning of a playoff game, very high leverage moments. But in any case, I don't want to be discouraged by the stat line. He's obviously our star player. We're going to give him dev lab work, likely to increase his control because he was walking 7.7 per 9 in his 20 innings at the MLB this year, so we got to get that down to 3 or 4 at the most. So obviously he's our number 1 pick, hopefully the face of the franchise. He's very popular already, so we're gonna pencil him in to be our number 2 starter probably next year. And then, like I mentioned, the 5th slot is sort of up for grabs because Thomas Harrington really cooled off in the back half, and he's sort of had some regression in his stuff and movement. Now he's very homer prone, so I'm not really sure what we're gonna do here, you guys, because although he was a positive 0.7 WAR player for us, if we go to his stats by month, you can see the May June numbers were really strong. At this point he was a full win above replacement player, and all the underlying was looking really good, positive ERA and positive FIPS. But then in the summer months, the late summer months, in July, August, September, it was the inverse. His ERA was inflated and his FIP was inflated, and he was just league average, and then eventually just had a terrible September where he was full negative WAR player. So he's really sort of cooled off, and that's kind of reflected in his scouting as well. I think, I guess it's not mentioned here, but I don't think his home run allowed was ever a 40, and he was averaging 1.7 there. So it's an increase year over year, even though he's keeping the walks down and the strikeout minus walk is relatively healthy. I just don't know what to do with him. I mean, he's under team control, but he's entering ARB1. He wants 2 mil. So we'll kind of need a game plan if we think that's worth it or not. I mean, he does have option years, so we can send him down. If we just want to bring him back to be safe and then send him down later, we can. But, I don't really know how I want to handle him. But, another guy who we're sort of on the fence on, it would be Thomas White. Obviously, we took him in the Rule 5 at just 23 years old. He's still just 24, so maybe there's still room to grow here. Obviously, as a reliever, he's only listed as a 40, but if we set his position to starter, it goes up to 45. He does lose a tick of stuff, and you look at these, it's just I don't know if I want to commit to running this out there, because it's just not very solid. But the good news is he has all of his option years left, and now that he is not a Rule 5 draft pick, we can just start him off at AAA probably, because I don't really want to bank on him contributing at the MLB next season. So we'll see if he can unlock anything there, hopefully tap more into this curveball and figure something out. But happy to have him in the system, I guess, now. But I think that's like kind of, it for the rotation. We can go ahead and like factor out Mitch Keller. Dan Beebe can slide in here, and it'll look something like this. Maybe Thomas Harrington is there, maybe he's not. But we have a couple of decisions to make. The back end of our bullpen, Brian Abreu was awesome, you guys, and I was so furious he didn't get more playing time down the stretch. He didn't pitch from September 20th on, which is just like horrendous mismanagement from our manager. But 60 innings, 41 saves, only blew 4. Great numbers across the board, like walking a fair amount, but not letting runners on base score. 1.6 WAR. He was really awesome, and just about to be 32. Like, I think we can look to bring him back if we offer him a contract extension. He's only expecting $6.5 million, so I think I do want to bring him back, and it's likely that we try to negotiate something before he's able to hit the open market, because I fear that if he were to hit the open market, these are going to be inflated. He's likely like a 10 mil AAV player. So I like the idea of bringing him back, even though the stamina is not the best. He's just been so good for us for 2 consecutive seasons. So really happy that we ended up bringing him on. Matt Brash is like a very similar story in that, he was quite good for us this last season. If we go back to, I don't have shutdown meltdowns listed there, but if we go to shutdowns, he led us in shutdowns with 31. Did have 18 meltdowns, which is like, okay, a little tough, but the underlying stats are good. I think it was just kind of like he had so much exposure to leverage that he was bound to have some bad performances. But like on paper, he's like really, really quite solid, and now he's like exhausted all of his RBers. He's about to be 31. I think we could look to do like a 2-year deal maybe for him before he hits the open market, just because I kind of like him. I don't know. And even though the control is a little low, like, the stuff is there. And at one point we valued the control at a 45, so I think it's kind of like waffling in between. But I think I kind of want to bring him back as well. Yoldine De La Paz is sort of our homegrown talent here. He ended up getting 70 innings. I don't know that he finished the year quite as strong as maybe we had hoped. He's just a 0.3 WAR compared to Tyler Holton's 1.5. So I'm not sure where that difference is being made up. I think he was a little homer prone down the stretch. 1.2 is not necessarily what you want out of like a leverage arm. And he's kind of just stalled out here at like a 45 overall, but he's still so young and on the minimum. Like, obviously, we're going to bring him back. And on paper, he's still effective against both sides. So likely he factors in. I don't know if it's going to be leverage or middle relief for us next season. It's kind of to be determined. Similar story for Tyler Holton. He has regressed a little bit. The most recent scouting report has his control dropping from a 60 to a 55, but his movement actually increased from a 50 to a 55. So it's kind of like a push-pull, like good and bad rating there. But he was like a 1.5 WAR player for us. The only downside with him is that like he was not stranding runners. Once they were getting on, it was like almost 50-50 if they would score or not, which is like not very good, obviously. But like I think that's just kind of unluckiness. Like, I don't know. His underlying looks really strong. He's still under arbitration control, so expecting just 2.4 mil. And you look at his ratings against both sides, he ought to be capable. So he will definitely return for us, like his personality in the clubhouse, as well as his ability to hold runners and his somewhat high stamina. So he'll be back for sure. Like Johan Oviedo, we've gone over this. He's done. He refused to be sent down. That really rubbed me the wrong way. But he's also out of his arbitration years, and he's gonna command like a real major league paycheck now. So it's been a good run, but I think his performance here, almost a full negative WAR player for us. Like we're kind of done. He sort of lost a bunch of his movement this season as well. That didn't really help. Just not a good year overall for him. And Jojo Romero is going to be an interesting one because we have him on a team option for 2.75 mil next year, and he was awful, guys. He was so bad. If we don't pick up the option, there's a $300K buyout. But I don't know how this didn't work out better, because we had him in a lefty specialist role. He had a 7 ERA and just was awful. He was somehow a positive WAR player. I don't know how that ended up, materializing. But in a lefty specialist roles, these ratings somehow did not play. I just can't wrap my head around what happened. So I know that he is going to bounce back next season, just because the volatility of like relievers, like the up and down nature of them, like the game is going to revert him back to his 2027 status. So it's maybe surprising, but I think we're going to bring him back on this deal. And then if he's awful, we can DFA him and waive him. But I just refuse to believe that his ratings on paper don't play. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I think that's it for pitchers. I don't know that anyone else is worth mentioning here on the 40. I guess Bubba Chandler is still here, and he is entering his final option year next year. So I think it's possible he's like, kind of the long reliever mop-up guy next season, like in the mold of like, what Thomas White did for us this most recent year, or Oviedo, something like that, because as we've noted, his production at reliever has been decent. So we'll see if we can kind of reclaim anything with him. But I think the bigger questions are like, do we bring back the back end of our bullpen or not, Brian Abreu and Matt Brash? And if we choose not to, if we bump one of them down, if Brash goes to like middle relief or something like that, can we find like a closer on the open market to really come in and shut games down? Maybe somebody with a little more stamina than Abreu has. So all of that will be things we need to consider in this upcoming offseason. But I think the stat recap has gone a little long, guys. Sorry to dwell on the stats as much as I do, but leave a like if you appreciate that as much as I do. This is going to be where we're going to wrap up the video. I'm not even going to get to the offseason here, so we're going to leave it on a cliffhanger. You're going to have to wait and see what our budget is next episode and all of those loose ends. But when I reflect on the year as a whole, I think we overachieved, and this is obviously positive momentum for our Pirates. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it further in the playoffs, but we followed along in the box scores. I think it was just like mismanagement of our bullpen that cost us game 2 of this series, and we ended up paying the price for it. So we'll leave it here, guys. I appreciate your viewership, and look forward to the next episode where we can start to dive into the offseason here as we move forward into 2029. But any support you can leave on the video below is greatly appreciated. I'll be back with you shortly for that episode in just a couple days. So stay tuned and have a good one.